Satisfactory is a first-person open-world factory-building game with a dash of exploration and combat. Play alone or with friends, explore an alien planet, create multi-story factories, and enter conveyor belt heaven. I've spent more time optimizing my production lines in this game than I have optimizing my own life. Spend 2 hours on a factory, realize you did something wrong and spend an hour fixing it, spend another hour finishing it, you designed it wrong and have to tear it all down. 10 out of 10. Those reviews are pretty much spot on for what you can expect hopping into this game. I think, Steve, this game has been a real fun time. Kind of wanted to get right into this and kind of talk about the gameplay loop and what you can expect with this game, right? So for me, the gameplay loop is, explore, gather, build, expand, and automate. I think that's like a perfect description. Would you think that's pretty fair to say?
No, 100%. Yeah, it's a very on I guess high level. It's very standard. You're just going around, you're picking up materials and you're using those materials to craft different things, but ultimately it's like it gets so complex so quickly. But it's a blast.
So would you say that it's pretty addictive?
For sure. Like it's one of those. I think I kind of mentioned it to you. It's one of those games where it's like you're like, I'm just gonna hop on and do something really quick. You're like, I'm just gonna try to build this one factory to make steel pipes, and then next thing you know, it's like you realize, okay, in order to really optimize this steel pipe factory, I need to go do this, oh, then you blow a fuse and you're like, okay, now I have to go back and figure out like where I messed up, like do I need to add more power, do I need to fix something? It can very easily go from you only plan on playing this for like 30-45 minutes to like now you're in there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes.
Yeah, what's funny is I think there was one of the first days I started playing it, you had woken up for work and you sent me a text of a screenshot of like your Steam showing that I was online playing and it was at like 5:30 in the morning. The way like this game makes you like constantly having things to do is what makes it very hard to set down. You begin with like, okay, I need to make this item like a rotor or something like that. You're like, okay, well, in order to make that, I need to go make these other two items and then combine those and say, well, okay, well, I need 500 each of these rotors, so while those are in production, like, okay, I got time to waste. So then you end up exploring, and then all of a sudden 3 hours later you still haven't even done like what you originally logged in to do, because there is like literally so much to do in this game. It's just, and it's like at the core of it, it's very simple. It's a very simple game, but there's always something for you to be doing, and it's very easy to get lost. And like I said, you caught me at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning on multiple times playing the game. And so let's get into the mechanics. I think the mechanics are pretty decent. I will say though, I do think that there are a few things that can be improved, specifically the projectile trajectory with that rebar gun. I mean, I'm sure you remember like trying to shoot the bees that are coming out of the flowers. It's very, very hard to hit them. And another thing is like maybe how some of the objects can be placed, specifically like flooring and stuff like that. Besides that, the mechanics are solid for what the game is. I don't think there's too many keybinds in the game. There's only a few that I think that, if I remember right, that you actually need, which is just like your space bar, E, and your mouse. Oh my god, and your mouse 1. So what do you think about the mechanics?
Yeah, mechanics are pretty straightforward. Like you said, there's a couple things here and there with the gameplay that it's like I definitely think could be improved. Like for sure, like the whole I really wish there would be some like a way to terraform or to even out the landscape. I think that's one of the big things that could potentially turn this game from like a 9 out of 10 to like a 10 out of 10, just because there's so many times where like the landscape, the world is very uneven. It's like it's realistic to an extent where it's like if you go to like this mountainous desertous area, it's like there's gonna be like the land isn't going to be completely even. Like you're going to find some plot of land that is even, but for the most part there's going to be a variety of terrain for sure. And like you said, there's not a lot of keybinds. It's a couple here and there. It's not overly complex. I think the complexity comes into where it's like there's just so much to do, and it's like
and how you build
almost
it.
feel yeah, you almost feel overwhelmed in the beginning. I think like a
I
perfect
told you about
example, it's like
that. Yeah.
you in the beginning, it was like you had like no idea what you were doing. I think you spent like the first couple hours just like watching YouTube videos and trying to figure out like, okay, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here? And it's like I kind of did the same thing too. It's like as I'm playing, I have like a YouTube video on my other monitor, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out. It was like, okay, I want to do this. How do I get this done? Like, what do I need to find in order to make this? What's the best way to go about doing this specific thing? There's just so much going on that sometimes it definitely does get overwhelming.
You know what's funny is so yeah, like that first hour, you had to pretty much walk me through like, hey, you're gonna want to grab a lot of plants and you're gonna want to grab a lot of sticks because you're gonna need it, to build things. And then like after that first gaming session, I was kind of like you, but I was maybe a little more into it because I think like 30 different browser tabs open with like Reddit and YouTube of like how to do this, best way to do this. That's just like how good it is. So with that in mind, right? Is this a game that you think that new gamers can play?
It's hard. It's hard to say because it's like I was saying, it's very overwhelming in the beginning. Like it's a simple premise. It's like you're going around and you're just finding materials and you're using those materials to craft. But the complexity and the I guess for me, like the part that I enjoy the most is the idea of optimizing everything that you're doing. It's not just crafting like a bunch of things, which like again, like when we first started and like you were going around and you just made like a million different things and it was so confusing to go around and find what you were doing. It was like, yeah, we were getting everything done, but like ultimately it wasn't necessarily optimized to the point where it's like we know it's like, okay, if we want pipes we go here, if we want this we go here, if we want this we go here. Our power wasn't necessarily optimized, but then it's like as we started progressing and progressing and progressing, it's like it's you kind of start doing reducing a lot of the waste and like really improving your whole supply chain and making everything as optimized as possible. So it's like I think if you have people that are like new gamers that enjoy the idea of like, okay, I'm gonna tackle this problem and I'm going to try and make it as good as possible, and maybe I'll have to do some extra research here on the side, or maybe you have some personal experience with like work or whatever. It's like you kind of have a general idea of like, okay, this is how like a supply chain should work, this is how like a factory should work, this is how we reduce waste here. And it's like that you can kind of start integrating that stuff. But like if you have like a kid or something that's never played, that maybe played Minecraft, they might enjoy like the game to an extent, but after a while it's like it's going to get so complex so quickly, and it's like they're going to lose interest because it's like like you said, there's a lot of waiting in this
You have
game.
to think of
There's a
like
lot.
how to optimize like everything. That's like I think that's like the hardest part of it. You're like, okay, I need to make 500 of these things, but it requires 8 different kind of materials to get to that point. What is the most efficient way that I can do that? And your normal kid isn't gonna be able to really do that without getting very frustrated,
Yeah,
right?
no, 100%. And they might get to the point where it's like you said, there's a lot of times where you're waiting hours for things to get done just so you can kind of progress to the next phase or progress to the next section. And it's like it could potentially be where it's like they just lose interest because it's a lot of waiting and it's a lot of like going back and redoing little things. Like for me, like that's what I kind of did. It's like as I was waiting for this thing to get done, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna see if there's a way that we can potentially make this better.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, learning how to do that. I think there's like a lot of things that you can do with like the conveyor belts and kind of make those. I know like a lot of people love making their conveyor belts look super, super nice. And it's like figuring out like the intricacies and like how you can make them look good and like flow extremely well. And it's like take as little amount of space as possible, because ultimately it's like space is very limited. And I mean, I guess it's not limited in this game, but it's like ideally you want everything kind of centralized to an extent where it's like it's easier to find, it's easier to locate. It's like if you know what you're looking for. So it's like you don't necessarily want to go wide. It's a little bit easier to go vertical versus wide because it contains everything a little bit better.
Well,
So
what's
it's like
funny is
understanding
that's a
that
skill
aspect
I
of
didn't
it.
even think that is how do I explain that? Like that's a very important skill I think in this game. Like you were saying, you really have to know how you're going to design this. Like I don't have any architectural background. I can't draw. None of this stuff. So like if you were to look at how I was doing a layout versus somebody who is more artistic and more like has a better idea of how all that stuff works, like it's a night and day difference. But you wouldn't expect like needing something like that.
No, 100%. And it's like for me, it was pretty cool because it's like in my real world job, I work in like process improvement and like limiting waste and like really just helping optimize supply chains. And so it was really cool to kind of be able to take like my personal experience and be like, okay, there's things that we can do here and we can do a little bit better and kind of help potentially make everything flow a little bit better. And it's so that's kind of what I integrated into my world, and then like kind of slowly started integrating into the world that we were kind of doing together, where it's like I said, it's trying to isolate things as much as possible, so if there are issues, it's easier to identify the issues versus it's like I think when we initially started our world, it was just kind of like everything was all over the place and everything was connecting to everything, and it was like yes, it's automation was
Getting a
automation was
headache.
great, but if yeah, automation was great, but it's like if you're trying to identify like if something was wrong or if something was delayed or if there was like a holdup somewhere, it's like you would have to check every single little thing to feel like
What's
okay,
in the
where's
storage
this?
container?
Yeah, it's like what's getting messed up. Where are we going? Like it's just like storage containers to storage containers to storage containers to conveyor belts going everywhere, and it's like it definitely got a little bit overwhelming for sure.
Well, I think it's cool how you said, you kind of brought like your personal life and what you do for work into this, because I'm actually the same way. So, you remember this? Well, I was setting up the trucking stations, between the nodes and the production facility. I spent, I think, like 7 or 8 hours throwing down like a platform to try to build like a receiving area to where I could have like water extractors and oil refineries and stuff like that to have a receiving and shipping area. So it's kind of funny like how that you bring that into the game. I kind of wanted to talk to you a little more like about the gameplay loop as far as like how it all, what you're going to expect, when you play this game. So essentially, like what you do is like you're going to be gathering resources such as like your copper, iron, coal. And then you have to build like miners to automate the gathering of all those things. You have to build tons and tons of machines, everything from like smelters to refineries to water extractors. And once you get these all built, you have to expand, right? We found, like you said, we found out very quickly how easy it is to get lost in what's going on, if you stick to that same little area. And one thing I noticed when I was looking at a bunch of like build guides and people posting their factories up on like Reddit was like it's not abnormal to have your factories kind of expanding across like all the different biomes. Like I think we were just like so fixated on getting everything in like one area, it just made it like super overwhelming, and then like the whole end game is the final in the gameplay loop is to automate it, right? Your goal is to have all these things being done, automated. You want your ore mine, you want it smelted, you want it transferred via truck stations or trains, to be combined and crafted into other materials, and then you want those materials to be used for your space elevator, and you want all this done without you even having to do it yourself. And like you want to accomplish all this while progressing towards the end of the game, completing phase 5, and then eventually launching your space elevator. So what should if you were to advertise this to somebody, Steve, like what would you say that they should be expecting when they play this game?
It's like we said, it's very straightforward. It's the concept is simple. But if you like the idea of being able to kind of start from a blank canvas and build what you want to build, and you like the idea of potentially completely taking everything down and restarting, and because it's like it is one of those things where it's like you can progress so far and then all of a sudden you're like, this isn't really working, I'm just going to tear everything down and restart from scratch, or I'm going to start a completely new world because it's like I feel like I messed up here and I could do this a little bit better. So there's just so much that kind of encompasses this game, and it's always it's the idea of always wanting to improve, always wanting to do something better. And like I said, that's something that I have from my personal for my job. It's like that's something that I'm always looking at work. So it's like it's really cool to be able to bring that into something that I really enjoy in gaming. And it's like you kind of start learning little things that I was able to kind of incorporate into work, because it's like I don't necessarily do a whole lot with like logistics and transport, but it's like this game, it's like it's such a big part where it's like if you can understand like general logistics and general transport, it makes this game a lot easier. Like you said, initially you don't have access to a lot of these transport methods. You have to kind of do everything manually, or you have to do everything via conveyor belts, so it gets a little bit messy. And then it's like once you start unlocking other things, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this a little bit better, maybe I can take this down. And now that I have trucks, I don't have to have everything all just around my hub, which is like kind of what you have to do in the beginning, because you don't want to go back and forth between, like, you don't want to have to spend 10 minutes walking just to get to something that you need to get to, because it's like you want to keep everything separate and you don't want everything to be congested. But it's like you kind of have to do that in the beginning because you have no other way of transporting things. But it's like unlocking trains, unlocking the tractors. It gives you the opportunity to, now it's like, okay, I can tear this copper mine down. I can go find a copper mine that's a little bit farther away, and then I can set up a trucking station to transport my materials from this area to this area, so we can continue to make the things that we need to make, whether it's like pipes or whatever you need to make, like wires, et cetera, et cetera.
You see, I like how it really gives you a real world demonstration as to like how the supply chain and like logistics thing, works. Like you said, you can't have conveyor belts going all the way from your warehouse, to your distributor, or to your assembly line. Like you have to know how to, make it as efficient as possible. So I think if you expect to play this game, expect to lose track of your hours easily. Expect frustration. I've said this, Steve, this was me. I find myself trying to do 1,000 things at once, and you really do need to start off small, and I do that in every game. I want to rush to complete it, but in this, you really can't rush. You just need to have fun with it and get creative with your factory. Start off for your first couple hours, just mining everything, and kind of go from there. It's very easy to get overwhelmed in this game. So let's talk more about like our personal experience in this game, our vibe, maybe like our most memorable experience. So yeah, you want to share that with me?
Yeah, so for me, I think the best experience for me was just kind of really starting to understand the game a little bit better to an extent. It's like as you start unlocking things to make the game easier, whether it's like the first thing that really, I guess, opened the world up for me was as soon as I unlocked the gun. It's very difficult to traverse the landscape when all you have is that little zapper.
You didn't like stun gunning everything?
Especially when you get to like the bigger things and like the beehives and all that other stuff. It's very difficult to traverse everything and like expect to survive. It's super, super hard. It's like I can't tell you how many times I died and I would have so many materials, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, crap, I need to go back, grab my materials, and then run back and hopefully survive. And then if you have the big like ram looking things, they just chase you forever until you kill them. So it's like you're kind of stuck. So yeah, once I unlocked the gun, it opened everything up for me to where it's like now I'm not necessarily scared to go to these areas where I'm going to get attacked by a million different things, because I feel pretty confident that like, okay, I'll be able to kill them. Even if it's like one of the big things, I can jump on a rock and just shoot it from the rock. But yeah, it's like unlocking a lot of the transport things really opens things up. It kind of gives you the ability to be able to expand your factory a little bit better. And one of the really cool things that I want to get into, it's like once you're able to start building buildings and like really encompassing like building an actual factory, I think that's super cool. Like some of the videos and like factory builds that I've seen online, it's like they look so insane, and it's like just trying to wrap my head around how
you think their architecture's like
yeah, it's like how I would go about like doing something like that. I was like, holy crap, that's so cool. But there's just so much to this game, and it's like I feel like we've only scratched the surface, and we've played probably like 40-50 hours of this game. And it's like for a game that you've played that much and you put that much time into it, and you're just like, yeah, and you feel like you're just scratching the surface, is crazy to me. Because like most of the time when you think of a game, it's like by the time you get to like 50-60 hours, you're kind of to the point where you're like, yeah, you're like completed with the game. It's like, yeah, it's kind of time to move on, and kind of time you've done everything you can with the game. But it's like 50-60 hours, and I feel like we're just like I said, we're just scratching the surface. It's like we've barely started getting like a coal power plant set up, and it's like now we have to get to the point where it's like, okay, we really want to get our logistics optimized. So it's like start to build roads just to make sure that nothing gets there's no hiccups with like potentially like an animal hitting it or something like that, or getting stuck on a rock or something like that. That was one of the things that I kind of struggled with in the beginning in my world, where it's like I set up trucking stations and they were going fine, and then all of a sudden they would just get stuck, and it's like, I would have to
yeah, the big dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's like I'd have to run around trying to find out where the truck was so I can get it unstuck, and it just created a nightmare for me. But it's like there's so many cool things, not just with like transport, but like even the way you can set up the conveyor belts with like conveyor elevators, the conveyor stackers. There's so many cool things that you can do with this game, and it's been super enjoyable so far.
See, I love the vibe of the game. This is one of those games that I like, that it's like, me and you can play it together, or it's like, I could throw some music on the background and just get to automating it myself. I mean, what I will say though, what's made the experience and everything like that better is, I think after like 2 days we decided to rent a server, because when you rent a server, your game is pretty much going 24/7. So like, we ran the issue. I think that first day or two, I actually left my computer on. I left the game open just so stuff would continuously being processed and stuff like that. I think that if this game is something that you really are interested in, I do recommend renting out a server, because I think that made it way more enjoyable for us. Because I would have like hated having to like log in and only having things being crafted and made while I was in game, right?
I actually don't mind that aspect of it. Like,
Really?
I think that, yeah, because to an extent, it's like you always kind of remember like where you're at. I think if it's like constantly running, like, yeah, that's great, that's awesome.
You don't want to
I
walk
think
in with a storage container full of materials getting ready to go, that we can just kind of focus on building.
I mean, if you think about it, like a real factory is never necessarily really running 24/7. It's
Bullshit.
only
Yes,
running
they
when
are.
the workers are there. Not all of them. Like
Most
if you
factories are
think of, like,
24-hour operations.
so some of them, it's like they're only running during business hours, and it's like once the workers go home, it's not necessarily running by itself. Like, it always needs some sort of oversight. And same thing, like if something breaks down while you're offline, now you have to go through and you have to check every single little thing, because you don't necessarily know what caused the breakdown. Versus like if you're on, you can kind of troubleshoot it a little bit better, and it's like, okay, it broke down because of this, or there's a holdup because of this. You don't necessarily get to see every single little thing. That I think ultimately, if you really want to optimize everything and you want to get everything flowing like perfectly and constantly running at the best possible rate as possible, like, you need to be able to see where your stops are, and like and really understand that. And in order to do that, it's like I feel like you have to be online for that.
No, I like being able to log on whenever I wanted and having it continuously go. I will say though, my most memorable experience of this game is this was when you caught me on at like 6 o'clock in the morning. If you remember, you logged off because I think it was pretty fucking late. And you're like, hey, try to make sure you can figure out why the power isn't working. And I spent, I think, like 3 or 4 hours rebuilding that whole power area to be closer to the water and trying to figure out like how the water pumps worked. And I think I texted you like, as soon as I got it done, saying, hey man, I figured out how to get power now to put out everything. But like, if I didn't have everything running, like, I don't know, I just, to me, it made it that much more enjoyable knowing I could just log on, as long as everything was working, and knowing that the factory was still running. So let's talk a little bit more, or go into how the overall the community is, and how helpful they are. And I think the community is great, fantastic. Actually, they're extremely helpful. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guides on Reddit, YouTube. I mean, they even have a wiki for a bunch of things, like how many points each item will give you when you deposit it into the Awesome Sink. They're very informative. They're very quick to answer any questions you may have. So what's your experience been with the community, and how helpful they are?
No, I think the community's been great. Like you said, it's there's so many, just YouTube alone. Like, there's so many YouTube videos, and there's a YouTube video for every single little thing that you would think about. Like, if you're having trouble doing this specific thing, it's like, okay, I'm just going to type this into YouTube, and there's going to be at least like 10, 20, 30, 40 YouTube videos on that. I had issues with some stuff on I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like I commented something on YouTube, and someone, like, not even the person that posted the video, but like some random person just responded and gave me the answer to what the issue that I was having. Same thing with Reddit. It's like you can go on Reddit, post something, and you'll get a response relatively quickly. It seems like there's a lot of people that really, really enjoy this game and enjoy seeing other people enjoy this game, and I think that's awesome. I think it's always really cool when you can jump in and the community is so supportive for each other, and it's like no one is really competing against each other. It's like, hey, like you'll see people post their factories and people are like raving about like how good their factory looks. It's not people shitting on them and saying like, oh, my factory's better. It's like my factory's better because of this and this. It's like, no, this is great, but like maybe they'll give some like constructive criticism, be like, you could do this a little bit better, you could do this a little bit better, maybe have you thought about this. But it's never like someone coming in and just shitting on them for doing what they're doing. Like if they're messing something up, it's like they're gonna come in there and they're gonna be like, hey, you should probably think about doing this, versus like a lot of negativity. I think it's awesome whenever you can see that.
No, I agree. So as we're getting towards the end of like this review on this, let's kind of talk about our overall experience. I think it's been my experience for this game has been great. I haven't played as much recently as I'd like, as I did told you I'm getting ready for Mythic Pluses with WoW next week. But I'm still finding time to hop on and do what I need to do in the game. The game, for how simple the concept is, has provided hours and hours of content. Even after completing the game, you can still continue to expand your factory, make it neater, etc. The gameplay truly does feel endless. And of course, you got, unless you have machines taking up every square inch of the map. So give me your overall experience for what you've done so far.
Yeah, I feel like I've been raving about this game the entire episode. It's incredible. It's such a good game. It's super enjoyable. It's again very very simple premise. It's like there's nothing extremely complex with the basic gameplay loop of Satisfactory. The complexity comes where it's like it can be as complex as you want to make it. If you want it to be very simple and you're just like, you have everything looped through conveyor belts and trying to automate everything, like you can make it as simple as you want to make it. But you can also get to the point where it's like you're just trying to optimize every single little thing and make sure everything is running as good as it possibly can. It's like that's where it gets complex, and it's like I love that. I love, and you know me, it's like I love playing these like similar type games where you can like just jump in and like sink a bunch of hours into it. Like I was playing vending machine simulator the other day, and it was like same thing. It was like just jumping in and just spending like 2-3 hours just while I'm watching a video, or it's like while I'm doing something else. It's super fun, and it's like one of those games where it's like you don't necessarily have to be paying 100% attention the entire time you're on. Like you could have it on in the background,
or you can have it offline because you got a server.
Yeah, I guess I mean you can if you want to, but it's like for me it's like I like the idea of being able to do everything while you're on.
So how many hours have you played?
I have maybe 50 hours, I think.
There's no way I have more than you.
I have 48.1. You have 36.8.
Oh, yeah. So I bought it August 1st and I have 37 hours. Most of those hours were done, you said, in the first weekend of us getting it. So let's get into our rating. I rate this game an 8 out of 10. It's very good. It has some room for improvement. Not a perfect game, but for how much we paid for it and for what it is, I think we paid $39 for the game, and it's worth every single penny.
Yeah, no, for me it's very close to a 10 out of 10. I think the thing that would make it a 10 out of 10 is if you're able to form the landscape, if you're able to
manipulate it,
tear things down. Yeah, if you're able to tear things down and make things flat so you can build whatever you want to build. I think that's one of the things that I found myself struggling with the most. It's like you're trying to make things work, and it's like you can't, because the way the landscape is, it's like you have to, it's like you're trying to build a conveyor belt, and it's like next thing you know, it's like you can't, because this one thing is a little bit higher, so you have to build an elevator, or you have to put a splitter or a merger in order to make it work. And it's just sometimes it gets a little too hectic. I think that would make it perfect for me. Or even if like as soon as you put the foundations would be perfectly flat. I just like when you're setting foundations down, like the lowest level foundation, like sometimes the grass kind of seeps through it, and it's like that part of it kind of bugs me a little bit. It's like I would like the foundation just to completely take over the land and just be that. That would be pretty cool for me. But yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. It's extremely enjoyable. Definitely worth the money. It's one of those games where it's like it goes on sale pretty regularly, and I mean, even for the $40 price point, it's
Definitely worth
super
it.
worth it. It's like I said, we've played this. I played this almost 50 hours, and it feels like we kind of just scratched the surface of this game.
I agree. So, would you recommend this game?
I think to certain people, it's like we said, it's not one of those games where it's like I feel like everyone can jump in and play it. I think it needs a very specific type of person, almost like someone with like some level of like OCD or like level of it's because there's so much, and it can get very very complex and very overwhelming super early. Like just you like we were talking about earlier, it's like you spent hours watching YouTube videos, going on Reddit and like looking things up because it's like you felt like you had no idea what was going on. You didn't know what you like. I think if we weren't playing together and like you just jumped in it on your own and you were just going around like doing random things, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If like initially you had to go and like, okay, I need to go watch a YouTube video just to understand this game. So I think it takes a very specific type of person that like enjoys the idea of like, I'm gonna play this game and there's a lot that I need to figure out, and I might not necessarily need to be able to figure everything out on my own. So I might need to go watch some videos. I might need to go on Reddit. I might need to go on Wikipedia and like look some things up. Or even like if you do want to spend a little bit more time and kind of figure everything out on your own, same thing. Like you could jump in and figure it out all on your own, but also be open to the idea of like being comfortable restarting. Like if you set something up and it's like you spend 20-30 hours building this one thing, and then all of a sudden you kind of realize it's like this isn't that great. I might need to go and just tear everything down and redo everything completely from scratch. Like that's definitely going to happen, and it happened to us. I think I restarted my world a couple times because it's like I felt like it wasn't, and I definitely feel like I shouldn't have restarted. I think I should have just kept going and then just slowly started remaking certain aspects of it. I think that's one thing that I had to kind of grasp, that you don't necessarily have to restart everything from the beginning, because like it takes so long to unlock certain things. It's almost better just to tear everything down and just kind of restart from there.
That's what I told you too. I said, why'd you restart? You could have just demolished it, got all your materials back, and just rebuilt.
Yeah, I know. It's just like in my head, it felt almost easier to restart everything because it was like I kind of have had an idea of what I wanted to do with my factory, but then it was like in order for it to work in my head, there was like so much that I would have to redo that it almost felt easier for me to just restart from scratch.
Yeah. So I say I agree. I recommend this game to anyone who loves like simulator, building, crafting, open world games. But I would not recommend this to younger gamers unless they have someone with them showing them how to do everything. Now, this isn't a game that I could play with my daughter, as she would definitely get just very lost and confused, and I probably wouldn't spend much time actually playing it, as I would be explaining everything in it. So the big question for this game is, will we continue playing this game, Steve?
I think so. Like, it's definitely it's a mix. Like, I definitely think I'm gonna jump on and play it again. But necessarily like being able to spend the amount of hours that we're spending on it, that's where it gets difficult, because it does require a big commitment if you want to progress, because a lot of things, once you get to a certain point, it takes a little bit longer. I think this is kind of where the online server thing kind of, you have that little bit of a plus side. It's like you're progressing even when you're not online, so you can kind of jump in and do a little bit of things and then kind of log off and you'll continue to progress. But it definitely is one of those games where it's like you need to be able to commit at least a couple hours a week, if not more, to really see some sense of progression. And I can definitely see some people where it's like they're playing it, they're not progressing as fast or as much as they would like, and they lose interest, because it's like ultimately everyone. They want to accomplish things. It's like if you're playing a game, you want to beat it. You want to see and feel a sense of progression, and sometimes this game does kind of hit a standstill, and you get to the point where it's like you're not progressing as fast, you're not progressing as much as you would like, and I can see some people getting discouraged. For like I said, for me specifically, I definitely will play this again. Just whether or not I will be able to commit as much time as we committed to this time around is where the question lies.
That's what I was going to say too. Yes, I'm 100% going to be playing it, but not nearly as much. I think it's definitely going to be continued. I just, I think that, even though the honeymoon phase of the game's over, it's still a fun, great game to pop on and just get lost in. So we want to say thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the BS Show. If you'd like us to review a specific game, make sure to let us know in the comments. Also be sure to share this podcast and to follow and subscribe to keep up with what we're doing.